For a long time, I've been thinking that life is so fragile and could end at any time. And this might be like my last moment. And if it was, would I have any regrets? Would I feel that I lived my potential? And currently, I don't think so. One of the things that has held me back is I have always been afraid of public speaking. I remember when I was 13 years old by my bar mitzvah. And it's a custom when a Jewish boy turns bar mitzvah is he gets called up for the Torah to read a portion of the Bible. And I remember I practiced a lot and worked really hard to get to that point. And I had so many friends and family that came out of town to just come for my bar mitzvah. And I remember about to get up and go get called up to the Torah and to read from the Torah scroll. And I had my dad, my father, is just standing right there. And I remember my hands are shaking away and I couldn't speak. But I got there, I did okay, I got through it. And I was thinking to myself, it doesn't have to be this hard. I could probably get over this and I could probably do really good. So I figured, the more you practice and the more you do it, the better you get. But there's this one time, and so I figured every few months, I'll go up, I'll practice, and in synagogue, I'll read from the Torah scroll. But there's this one time when I was 14 years old. I remember I practiced so hard to do it. And I remember getting up there. Again, still so nervous. I never got over that nervousness. And I forgot everything I prepared. It was so scary. And I decided right then and there, I will never, ever do this again. Why should I be so scared? Why should I look like a fool in front of everyone doing this? So I decided I'm never doing this again. And up until this point, I have never got up in public to speak. So why am I doing this today? And one of the things is I have 3 kids, and one of the things I want to really teach them is that they could do anything in life. But if I just preach it to them and just tell them, you could do this, you could do that, it's not really going to show them. The only way that I could really teach my kids that they could accomplish anything and get over their biggest fears is if I get over my biggest fear of public speaking. So I decided I need to do public speaking. But then I'm thinking what am I going to talk about? So I'm talking to Rosh here, and he's helping me out. And so he asked me, what are you passionate about? And so I tell him this story. And I remember I was in synagogue one day at 11 years old, and there's this person, you've never seen someone praying like this ever in your life. There's this person that is about 70 years old, and he's praying and hitting himself back and forth, and he's crying. He's sweating away. And I look at him, and I'm like, what's wrong with you? Are you okay? Is something totally wrong? Is life about to end for you? But this goes on every single day in and day out. I see him every single day doing this, and I'm like, what's... So after a couple of days, some friends of mine, we get the courage and we ask him, what's going on? Why do you do this? So he sits us down and he tells us, he's like, let me take you back. Let me bring you back to World War II. I was in a concentration camp. I was in a Nazi death camp. Not only that, I was waiting in line to go into the gas chambers. And I realized my life is about to be over. I'm about to be dead in a couple minutes. And I didn't want that. And he says, I prayed to God. And I'm praying to God, God, I will make one condition with you. If you by some miracle make it that I get out of here alive and I live, I will pray every single day for the rest of my life with the feeling like my life is about to end and this will be my last prayer on earth. And so when I look at him in synagogue, I actually see that emotion on him. And so it makes me think to myself that life could end at any time. And I could be at my deathbed. And if it was, I don't want it to waste. I want to teach all my kids the lessons that I've learned in my life from my parents, from my teachers, from my friends and people around me. I want to leave them off with the messages I've learned. And so that's what I want to do tonight here is I want to speak directly to my kids. Let them have this for the rest of their life, these messages that I've learned. And so the first thing, I want to talk directly to my kids. My dear children, the most important thing in life is to be a good human being, even before being religious, and even to be religious, you need to be a good person. And so I could go on now and preach about it. What does it mean to be a good person? But you're not going to get that message. Instead, what I'm going to do now is I want to share with you, my children, what does it mean? And the way I'm going to share this, I'm going to share a few stories from my family of things that I've learned growing up. So the first story I want to tell you, my kids, is something that I've learned from your grandfather, Zaidi, my father. Ever since I was a little child, your Zaidi had what's called a gemach. A gemach is an interest-free loan for people in need. And it could be for anything they need. It could be for food on their table. It could be for paying some bills. It could be for whatever they need. And people would come knocking on our door. I remember as a little kid, I would be in pajamas, and people would knock on our door, and they would either be coming to pick up a check, to pay back a check, and your grandfather was there for people. And what I've learned from your Zaidi is that to help people that are less fortunate than ourselves. And it could be in anything that you could help someone. We have to do it, whether it be in time, in your knowledge, and just being there for someone. You have to be there for people in need. And that's what I've learned from your Zaidi. And I want to share with you a story from your Uncle Mendy. I started working with your Uncle Mendy in Pittsburgh 12 years ago at PC Doctor. And one of the first things that Uncle Mendy started teaching me in PC Doctor is about billing, how to bill clients. And one thing he was really particular about when he would be billing clients is he would be reviewing the bills 3, 4, 5 times. I'm like, why are you doing it so many times, reviewing it? And he wanted to be careful when he's billing people, not to bill them over and overcharge someone. And if he was unsure if he overcharged someone, he would just rather underbill it. And the reason he did it is because I remember there's times that, for example, we would be by the Pittsburgh Steelers. And we would sometimes be there 11, 12 o'clock at night, and we've been working. And when we're there so late, Uncle Mendy and I, we could be there for 2, 3 hours. And so we add an extra half hour to that bill. Who's going to really realize? Nobody. But that's not what Mendy cared about. What Mendy cared about is that he knew if he was overbilling or not. He knew if he was honest. And that's what Mendy taught me, is that being a good person is to be honest with ourselves. We have to be true. And the last story I want to share with you is from your Bubby, your grandmother, my mother. And she taught me that we always have to be there for family, for friends and family, people that are close to us. Yes, we have to help the people that are are less fortunate than ourselves. And we have to be honest, but we can't forget about family, which is most important, the people around you. And I remember one of the hardest times in my life was when I decided I wanted to go to Chicago for school. I wanted to go away out of town with friends that were going out of town for high school. And my parents were really supportive of it. You're Bubby and Zadie, you're like, that's what you want to do? Go and do it. But when I got in Chicago, I was so homesick. I would cry when I got there. I'd be crying for hours, every single day. And your Bubby, what she did so amazing is she wouldn't push me off the phone if I needed to be on the phone for a half hour, for an hour and a half. She wouldn't push me off and say, okay, I have something better what to do. She would just be there and listen and try to help me as best as she can. And one thing brilliant she did so amazing is she said, Shuey, I see you're having a really hard time in Chicago and you really want to come home. I'm going to buy you a mileage ticket. And what's special about this mileage ticket is if you want to come home tomorrow, I'll book that flight tomorrow. You want to come home in a week? No problem. I'll push it off a week. So I want you to do, Shuey, is take this day by day. And if you could handle a day, great. If you want to stay another day, I'll just push off your flight another day. If you want to push it off a week, no problem, we'll push it off a week. And that's what she did. I took it day by day. And I remember it was really hard. So 6 months in, I'd said, okay, I'm done with this. And the next flight home, I was back in Miami. And so that's what she taught me. We have to really be there. And you'll have to remember, kids, is you have to be there for each other. You have to be there take care of if one of each other is in need. Be there, make them feel safe, just like Bubby did for me. And so I learned all these great lessons from my family and from others around me, what it means to be a good person. But then I started thinking about what's really the purpose in life? We're here on this earth. Okay, so you have to be a good person, but why are we really here? And so I talked to so many people, and they were telling me, I would speak to my friends and family, and they would all try to give me answers, but I never felt something that actually felt satisfactory to me. Until one day, I think I figured it out for myself. And their answer to this is one word, is happiness. When you think about happiness, how is that the purpose of this world? It sounds so selfish. We're here in this world for ourselves to be happy. That's why you're here. But there's a study that's done on happiness that's explained. There's actually 3 levels of happiness, but I'll only share with you one, because that's the point here. And the highest level of happiness is best described as when you find something that's bigger than oneself. And for some people, it's religion. For some people, it's their job. They found their passion. And for others, it could be anything. And I think the best way to describe this is, there's a story of this lady I heard that she won the Guinness Book of World Records for the most amount of criminal sketches that caught criminals. She created, and 1,000 of her sketches caught criminals. And so she explained her story of how she came to be like that. And she said that when she was younger, she was assaulted and almost died. And she explained it was really hard for her. And in order to get past it, she actually drew a sketch of the criminal that did this to her. She gave it to the cops, and they found that criminal. And they brought him to justice. And it helped her get past it and move on. And she thought to herself, imagine, I just created a sketch that took me a little over an hour, and I was able to move on and get past this. Imagine if I could do this for so many others out there, help them get past their hardships. Imagine the feeling that would create for doing that. And that's what she was able to do. She created so many sketches that caught over 1,000 criminals. And so I want to teach each of you, my kids, that you each have your own uniqueness in life, your own something that's special to you. And you got to figure out what that is. And for each of you, it's going to be different. But thinking about that it's so easy to live life on the sidelines and watch others live life. But that's not what counts in life. What counts in life is that we have to enter the arena in life. And for me, that's getting over my fear of public speaking. I'm entering the arena. And realize this, is that we will make mistakes in life. We will have failures. We will have sadness. And we are all not perfect. But that's not what counts. What counts in life is that we get over our mistakes. We learn from them. We get over our stumbling blocks. We get over our fears. And we will be remembered for the battles we have won. And so I want to end this off to my dear children, to Shmuly, Ahuva, and Adina, is watch me here. This is something that each of you, my dear children, will have forever. Whether it be in 5 years, in 10 years, in 30 years. This is something that you could always learn from and realize, if there's anything that scares you, my dear children, think back here, realize, I was able to overcome my biggest fear, and so can any of you. It's not only my children can learn from this. Any child out there, any person out there, you can get over your biggest fears. But I want to leave off with my kids. Is that when you have those fears, remember I got over it and so can you, and I will love you forever and ever. And I will be with you. And you might not always see me, and I'm still with you. And I will love you each to forever and back. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks.
All right, so I wanted to spend a few moments on the stage up here in the spotlight. First of all, how was he as a public speaker? How did it feel to be on stage?
Good, well prepped.
So I want you, because you have family and friends here, if anyone out there, is everybody an accomplished public speaker out there? No, I knew that. So now that you've stood here in the spotlight, and now this video will go out to thousands of people, what's your message to them, those closest to you, about public speaking and what it takes to get up here on a stage and deliver a message?
Really, it's very easy. It's like anything in life that I've learned, whether it be learning how to write from teachers. They taught me how to write, or learning how to learn Chassidus, or learning how to any subject, or learning how to run a business. Same thing is with public speaking that Rosh has really taught me, is it's being well prepared. It's learning A, B, C, what does it take to do something, and preparing for it. Once you're prepared, you just left free on the stage. It's really easy. But the main thing is really be prepared. And it's the same thing in anything in life, is anyone can do anything. You just got to learn the tools for it.
So I think you mentioned this in your speech about your passion. Passion is a very big part of public speaking.
Yes.
If you don't care what you're talking about, no one else will.
So to get on that is one of the biggest fears that before public speaking I was so nervous is because I never wanted to do it again, because I remember what it felt like to forget a speech, to be prepared and still having that brain freeze. And I didn't want to feel that. But like Rosh really helped me is finding your passion of what you're passionate about. And so it's just a conversation to people.
This is, by the way, the most common fear when it comes to public speaking, is what happens if I get up there and I just freeze, right? Can anybody relate with that?
And I did it up here today. There was a time, and part of it is I just had to stop and think about it.
But you got through it.
But I got through it.
Okay, so I want you to walk a little forward into the spotlight.
Yeah.
And I want you to tell people out there, what have you learned about yourself through this process?
That I can do anything.